Hi and welcome to another 1v1 analyst where we get Pomegranate versus Murtag, and let's just start off by saying this is another tournament game, as you may notice if you follow the numbers I've posted on the videos. So the Pomegranate opens my favorite USA. I still think it's cheesy. It won't matter, but against UK probably it's fine. I've seen Pomegranate usually giving preference to the artillery base as the American and using M16s, but I guess this time he won't be bothered with that. He's just going to snipe. Yeah, he's going for the snipe, and Murtag is forced to retreat his one supply depot, but manages to do it really well. But uses a camo card, so that it forced to work. The Pomegranate is using Blitz and decryption. Maybe the decryption is now after he dropped camo, and the Murtag is of course using camo Blitz in order to secure its base against snipe. So, do we gonna see any early infantry guys trying to flank it, as we've seen in the previous games? I'm not really sure. It's amazing how these players play. I'm not sure if I played in this tournament, but I definitely didn't. I don't think I played in this particular tournament, sadly. So let's see. We got one Vickers coming out, probably on a Willy hunt. Yeah, if you see me like jerking mouse a bit, it's just that I'm in like play mode, and I really want to focus on getting every information I can, because it's really easy to miss most information that is out here. So Pomegranate adds an armor base. Yeah. Okay. A really good transition, since UK really doesn't have an immediate answer against tanks. But he decides to cancel them for no apparent reason. So the Spitfires are out, and
yes, sir. Deploying camouflage nets.
So yeah. So the Palm sees Spitfires and immediately camos his base, which probably means he's going for this, you know. If there's one thing I learned is that he's going to stack fighters and try to surprise his enemy in the air. And this Vickers is spelling trouble. I'm not sure. Will he go for tanks again?
Sir, the enemy is
No, he will go for artillery base. He's not really feeling that much confident against enemy Spitfires in the air, because if you give like enemy Spitfires away, and they soon start to dominate there. So he used GI to distract, to actually place anti-tank bunker, and the cabo is working really well with it. So maybe it was something to deal with the anti-tank, or maybe he's trying to lure in this so Vickers don't really get away. He manages to save the GI, but yeah, finally has an edge on him. The Willy is sitting there tightly, and the Murtag really is stopping. Finally found the Willy there. Makes a quick work of it. So there was a spy used. It was like, I think from Murtag's side, or yeah, definitely from Murtag's, or maybe in Pomegranate. Sorry, I didn't really notice that in particular. But yeah, they used some. This outpost has been serving so well under the camo so far. Nobody's doing really much of a thing, which is quite interesting. The Pomegranate got 3 depots versus Murtag's 3 depots, so they're both started quite aggressively. I think they both started with 2 depots, but they really need to get up some macro, and I think that soon the game is going to really start. The Pom is playing defensively, which I really like about most players doing so, since from what I've seen, most players just play hyper aggressively, and Pom is one of the players I respect for being able to sit in defense tight and using score to force his enemy around. It's always a good strategy. So yeah, the Spitfires are not really strafing particularly well, and the Spitfire is engaging while being under the Bofors cannon. Is able to route efficiently though. Another Spitfire sniping light infantry guys who are running there. Pretty good job so far from Murtag's side. And yeah, and he forced Pomegranate to drop an anti-tank bunker, which is really good. I mean, like, if you force enemy to make useless anti-tank bunker, you made him spend $20 using a $10 truck. That's a really good play. So Spitfire still gets that GI and barely escapes with burning engines and whatnot against M16s. His ammo have ended and there's a clear knowledge of what is going here. Actually, I thought he's going to take a depot, but instead he opted for armor base and anti-tank gun. And he doesn't really have any information. Oh, is that a bug? That is a bug. It's the second bug we had this game. Well, what do you know? So, anti-tank guns and ground recon. We haven't seen ground recon in a while. Those ground recons are probably the worst thing you can get. Nice snipe, although one Spitfire was not that creative shape, and actually lets his fighters chase. And to my surprise, the Palma has invested $50 to get an advanced fighters, and he's invested so much lot of an AA. Makes me wonder what his game strategy is now. Is he really expecting Murtag to play all game with Spitfires? I have no idea. Will he get tanks? I would presume this is a tank base, since there's nothing more to place. He really needs some beefy tanks. But... oh, it's an anti-tank base, interestingly enough. So will he... he'll probably use the anti-tank guns and rangers or some infantry of some sorts to try to push and reach some conclusion. The game's been passive so far, but Palma has actually managed to drop a depot here and nobody's harassed that yet. The Murtag has stacking Spitfires. So one of the most biggest problems I've seen in 1v1s in UK is that there is not a lot of room for creativity. The players are just used to playing UK and just stacking Spitfires as they do in pub games and team games, and not really taking advantage of all the possibilities the UK has to present. Some of which is ground, as we've seen. Sending infantrymen like against France is a really good example, and I think especially using paratroopers in 1 versus 1 is the vital part of any strategy. If you ever played like UK in 1v1, the first thing you should focus is like dropping paratroopers. It forces your enemy to adjust in such a way that no other nation has such influence in making adjust as much as the UK paratroopers do. Since the paratroopers cost no upgrade, you can really get them really fast to the enemy base, and depending on the map, it could spell a trouble. Also, it could spell trouble for you as well. For example, in Behind the Lines versus Soviet, you can't really do airport much because the Soviets will just overrun you, and it's a huge risk. So they both stack fighters. The Pomegranate, seeing so much Spitfires, as we told, is not going to give it up. He's just going to fight in the air. One thing I've seen Papa do is never let enemy have an air superiority. No way. The air superiority wins games, and as anyway, I think the Murtag's Spitfires isn't going to win him a game, but he's not there. He's there to have a great game. Especially since I do think the Pomegranate is a much better player. Not much better player, but he's definitely a really strong player. And in Murtag's place, I would probably play the same. Getting Spitfires a lot. And the Pomegranate just reacts, which makes sense. From what we see, a couple of... I was just going to mention about the anti-aircraft guns. If you're like a bad player, and not like bad, if you're like me, for example, and can't really kill all the decoys, and it generally makes you pissed off about your planes running into decoys, you should get like 2 anti-aircraft guns. They're worth a lot more than your planes constantly refueling and whatnot, and there's a big problem about that. So the Murtag manages to push a couple of regulars in. Not sure if they're gonna do the work. The Pomegranate is relying on light infantry as well. I haven't seen a lot when I play 1v1s, I usually imagine like there's this huge circle jerk of the heavy infantry is so damn powerful. You always use heavy infantry. That's one of the most important things, and of course there's some players like Quebec which are abusing it a lot, and but it doesn't seem like there's always a need for it. I think in more than enough in the higher level games you see air being used a lot more than heavy infantry. For example, heavy infantry just serves to distract the enemy, and then somehow the people realize that you don't even need heavy infantry to distract an enemy. Like a Strelki is fine. And of course, when you're thinking objectives, like for the Russians, there is no other way than use like heavy infantry. Is this depot? I really like how Pom is playing such a defensive but really solid game. The Murtag is just sitting back, you know, getting sextants, which is a proper strategy. I do agree. But the Pomen, meanwhile, has been so greedy. He's grabbed this depot and established the barracks here. And he will continue to push further with anti-air guns and use a couple of infantry there. And he's finally upgraded to Rangers, which means he could run this short distance. And the M16s are doing a really great work of harassing there as well. Pomegranate sees the sextants and immediately responds by getting tank destroyers in field, just in case those anti-tank guns aren't that good enough. So yeah, the Rangers are starting to pour in on this side, and I like to respond. I like to think that is, I want to see how the Murtag will respond. So he responds by usually he responds like me, just running straight in with Spitfires, not giving a thing, and it usually results in the Pomegranate totally exploiting the situation and taking a lot of Spitfires down by waiting for enemy to re-engage and then engaging of his own. And yeah, so the cruisers, medium tanks is a pretty good choice. Oh, the Pomegranate splits and gets on the road. This could spell trouble for Murtag. This tank is probably dead. Yeah. So the splits. So the one thing about Rangers which is really annoying is that they run faster than tanks on the road, which is ridiculous. Totally unrealistic game. That's a sarcasm, of course. So the opponent splits infantry very well. He did destroy this depot. I would capture this place. Maybe get a couple of bucks now and then. Yeah. From this, there's no way. There's no coming back from this situation. The Rangers and although Murtag finished barracks of here, the Ranger count is just too high, and he doesn't have much ways to deal with it. Let's see, sextants cost 30 bucks. Okay. So the self-propelled artillery isn't going to get much job done. I really like how this outpost has been standing their whole game, since I think Pomed doesn't have a way to destroy it. Pomed did get priests of his own, just in case. I'm surprised to see no bombers from the Pomed. He was maybe yeah, he was afraid of Spitfires, makes sense. But since he got Spitfires, now he could either transition into priests or into bombers. And yeah, that Ranger push won the game outright from Pomed. Really solid play, expanding behind attack and expanding and pushing it slowly. The Pomed demonstrated his ultimate defensive skills here, and for the Murtag, well, there's not much you can do as UK against a competent USA player. No way. Them 16s and Ranger push, it's just too hard. You need to be really creative in order to find a solution there, and probably do some damage in early game. Alright, thank you for watching. This was a really interesting game. Hope to see you next in another one.